Yeah, I mean, certainly, obviously, MI5 will be interested in Muslim communities now, inevitably because of the rise in the threat from Islamic terrorism. To give you an idea of what MI5 was like in the past, there was actually an operation once against kebab shops. That the Turkish government managed to convince MI5 that the PKK were gathering funds, the PKK's Kurdish Workers' Party, were gathering funds for terrorism from kebab shops. Of course, this posed no threat to Britain, but MI5 nevertheless decided to have this operation. And I imagine much the same thing is going on in Muslim communities at the moment. They'll be targeting a lot of people, and they'll be also pissing off a lot of people. But I have to say as well that MI5 has an absolutely terrible policy on recruiting people from minority ethnic backgrounds. When I was in the service, in the so-called GI officer class, there was nobody from a minority ethnic background, and only a couple in the clerical class. Now that's obviously got to change if they want to win the respect of those communities. But I imagine the way that MI5 would go about it is they will only seek to annoy those communities. And when they pass legislation like the amended Prevention of Terrorism Act, allowing them to prosecute people for not reporting terrorist crime, that is only going to lead to divisions in those communities, to antipathy in those communities for MI5. It's as simple as that. In exposing the book, the family of Sean McNulty were wrongly charged after that. And in fact, Sean McNulty's father died in custody. We are utterly opposed to the inclusion of this clause in the Prevention of Terrorism Act because, say, people were put in a terrible position whether they should report their family or not, can be held on remand, can be convicted for a number of years in prison. But of course, it's counterproductive anyway. If you want to get the Muslim community to report genuine terrorists, you're not going to do it in that particular way.
Okay, we've reached the end of the written questions. Now, on one hand, I want to make sure we're all happy if we've all had our say. On the other hand, I'm pretty knackered and I don't want this to go on much longer. So, I would ask people to make it clear if they want to ask any further questions. Otherwise, we could have something up.
Well, I found some of the things David said very interesting, and I think they were pushed forward in some areas the boundaries of knowledge. And he might well have said something infiltration which is useful, which is good. And he might well have said things intentionally useful, which is good. I still don't really buy, as I hope to have shown in the reference to detailed particular cases, that he did know a lot more about some of the things that I pointed out than he's stated. I really don't think that I can. I mean, there's certain specific issues like the people who were jailed over the Israeli bombing, which I would stand full story with anybody, even if you're a member of the Conservative Party, to actually get them freed. But I think there are too many grey areas and areas of non-disclosure and claiming not to know about things like Harrods or about the Diana thing, which I think we should have known, to mean that I wouldn't still retain the cautious view that I have that left-wing radical groups should treat your interventions and solicitations and offers of help with great circumspection. But you've said some very interesting things, but I don't buy all of this at all.
Thank you very much.
Well, I obviously thank Larry for inviting me here tonight, for giving me an opportunity to have my say and to have this debate. I think what it comes down to ultimately is Larry is obviously a very suspicious man, and we are right to be suspicious in this country. There is far too much secrecy around the intelligence services. They are unaccountable, they do not work democratically. In fact, if you totted up all the things that me and Larry agree on, I'm sure there are far more of those than which we disagree on. Where I do take issue with Larry is when he asks people from the left not to get involved in it. That is exactly what the intelligence services want. That is exactly what Tony Blair wants. That is exactly what the New World Order wants, because somebody somewhere has to stand up to these people. And I am in a fortunate position in many ways. I'm in a lucky position to be able to have a name that is known in public life that I can use to bring to the movement of trying to fight for our democratic rights. I will be there at the G8. I will be protesting where I can in the future. My life is very difficult though. I would ask people to buy my book, read my book, and make up their own minds. As I said, I try to answer as far as I can. I just simply, in some cases, do not know about these things, and therefore I believe I'm better off admitting that than trying to impress people with invention. And of course, if we really want to reform the services, we'll let me do that with reliable information. If we put information that's unreliable for the government, they will say this information is untrue, these people don't know what they're talking about, and intelligence services can carry on in the way they are. If you have a public face who is saying, no, I've sworn this under oath, I know we must do perjury. A figure has a name and a source of this information, that makes it much more difficult to discredit and reject that information. So I would hope that all of you would join with me in trying to reform the secret state and ensure that protests in the future are never subject to the terrible things that people have been subjected to in this country in the past. That innocent people are not held in prison, and that when evidence emerges of their innocence, they are freed quickly, not after 14 or 16 years or whatever it is. So I ask you now, if you really want to reform the services and you want to change this stuff, to join with me in protest and doing that.